The silent approach of the unknown. Admiral Rachel Simmons gazed out from the observation deck of the ARES Vanguard, her expression reflecting the weight of decades spent navigating the unforgiving vastness of space. The ARES Vanguard was humanity's crowning achievement, a colossal warship designed not just for battle, but to be a fortress in the stars. At 2 kilometers long, it could endure the harshest space environments. Its sleek hull was lined with shields, reinforced with adaptive nanosteel plating capable of withstanding asteroid impacts, even solar flares. The ship was a testament to humanity's resolve, survival in the dark, empty stretches of space. Despite all the technological wonders the ARES Vanguard possessed, the vast void outside its reinforced hull seemed far too quiet. It had been years since they had encountered any truly intelligent life. After all, the universe was a vast and lonely place. But today, something was different. A quiet hum of tension filled the command deck as the sensor arrays picked up an anomaly. Lieutenant Maya Collins, the lead communications officer, called out, "Admiral, we're picking up a strange signal from the outer edge of the Fomalhaut system. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Rachel's brow furrowed as she turned towards Maya. She had seen countless false alarms, false positives, anything from cosmic dust to radiation bursts. But this was something new. The energy readings didn't match anything within the known catalog of space phenomena. It was structured, rhythmic, almost deliberate. There was an intelligence behind it. "Let's see what we're dealing with," Rachel replied. "Redirect all power to long-range sensors. Bring up the signal full-spectrum analysis." The massive command screen blinked to life, casting soft blue light on the faces of the bridge crew. The signal flickered on the display, impossibly complex patterns of energy waves, looping in regular intervals. "There's a pattern to it," said Commander Jonas Harrow, the ship's tactical officer. His eyes narrowed as he zoomed in on the readings. "This is no natural anomaly, Admiral. Whatever this is, it's purposeful." Rachel felt a jolt in her chest. For the first time in years, a sense of urgency spread through her, faster than the speed of light. Her heart raced. Could it be? Could humanity finally be on the verge of its first contact with an intelligent alien species? "Slowly approach the source," she ordered, her voice steady despite the excitement pulsing in her veins. "But keep the shields up. We don't know what we're dealing with yet." The ARES Vanguard shifted slowly in the darkness of space, its massive engines whispering in the void. For a ship of its size, it moved with eerie grace, its course locked on the strange energy signature that beckoned them like a mysterious lighthouse. The bridge crew was silent, each person lost in their own thoughts. Some had seen battles, some had never fired a shot in their life. But all of them felt the gravity of this moment. As the ship drew closer, the energy readings grew stronger, more pronounced. The stars around them seemed to flicker strangely, as if reacting to the force drawing them near. There, on the edges of the Fomalhaut system, a structure appeared on the sensor feeds. It was large, impossibly large, a sprawling network of artificial satellites orbiting a distant planet. Each satellite was pulsing with the same mysterious energy, a swirling purple hue that shimmered like liquid light. "Admiral, you're going to want to see this," Harrow said, his voice tinged with awe. On the main screen, the satellites materialized. Thousands of them, each one perfectly positioned, an intricate web of technology that seemed to stretch across the void. They were a sight unlike anything the crew had ever witnessed, radiating energy in a way that felt almost alive. "It's a structure," Rachel murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "But not just a structure. This is something else. A network." Lieutenant Collins ran a few calculations. "The energy signatures indicate high-level technology, Admiral. These aren't just satellites. They're interconnected. It's as if they're communicating with one another." Rachel's mind raced. This wasn't just an alien presence. It was an advanced, intelligent species capable of engineering the system on a scale that humanity could barely imagine. The possibilities were staggering. What could this mean? Initiating first contact protocols, Rachel said. She turned to the ship's communications officer. Open all frequencies. Let's introduce ourselves. Before Collins could activate the system, something strange happened. The satellites flickered violently. And then, as if startled by their very presence, they began to scatter. Ships of impossible design, sleek, liquid metal shapes that shimmered like molten silver, began to emerge from the dense formation of satellites. They darted away, disappearing into the dark expanse faster than the eye could follow. Report, Rachel snapped. We're being observed, Harrow said, his voice shaky but filled with a sense of awe. Those ships, they were monitoring us. I think they saw us before we saw them. Admiral Simmons' mind raced. She had expected curiosity, perhaps even a cautious greeting, but not this. What had triggered their sudden retreat? The crew braced for something more, but all they saw was an empty void. Silence, except for the hum of the ship's engines. This isn't just first contact, Rachel muttered under her breath. It's something bigger, something we can't yet understand. Her fingers hovered over the comm panel. She needed answers, and she needed them fast. We're broadcasting a peace message, she said firmly. Show them who we are. Show them humanity's message. As the signal was sent into the blackness, Rachel held her breath. Would they respond? The rising tide of fear. Admiral Rachel Simmons stood frozen, her eyes locked on the empty space where the alien ships had vanished only moments ago. The HFY Vanguard hung in the cold expanse of space, surrounded by the eerie glow of the satellite network, now flickering like dying embers. Something had gone terribly wrong. The ships had scattered too quickly, their movements too deliberate, their reactions too fast. The crew had barely gotten a glimpse of them before they disappeared into the void, leaving behind a sense of dread that now settled over the bridge like a thick fog. Status update, Rachel said, breaking the silence. Her voice was steady, but inside, her pulse raced. There had been no shots fired, no hostile maneuvers, but something about the way those ships had retreated unsettled her. They were hiding, observing, waiting. But for what? Nothing on the sensors. Admiral, Harrow replied, his voice tight. They're gone. But something's off. The energy signatures remain strong, but the ships, they've disappeared without a trace. Rachel frowned. The HFY Vanguard sensors should have been able to track the alien ships across the vastness of space, but there was nothing. The satellites were still there, still pulsing with that strange purple energy, but the ships that had been so close moments ago were now like ghosts in the dark. Could they be cloaked? Rachel asked. It's possible, Harrow said. Their technology is far beyond ours. It's hard to say for sure. Maya Collins, the ship's communications officer, piped up, her voice unusually quiet. Admiral, we've just received a transmission from the satellites. It's encrypted. I can try to decrypt it, but it may take time. Rachel nodded, her mind already racing. This was it. This was the key to understanding what was happening. The aliens had left a message, a clue to their intentions. If they were retreating, if they saw humanity as a threat, this transmission could reveal everything. Decrypt it. Fast, Rachel ordered. Everyone else, stay alert. We don't know what kind of reaction we're going to get. As the crew worked furiously to analyze the signal, Rachel turned her attention back to the view screen. The network of satellites was beautiful, an intricate web of technology, so perfectly designed that it seemed almost like art. Each satellite pulsed with a soft violet glow, as though they were alive. But they were cold, alien, far beyond anything humanity could dream of creating. Suddenly, a loud beep interrupted her thoughts. Maya Collins looked up, her face pale. Admiral, I got the message. Rachel's heart skipped a beat. What does it say? Maya swallowed hard, her fingers flying across the console. It's a warning. not to us, but to their people. They're describing us as the Dark Fleet. Rachel's stomach dropped. The Dark Fleet. What did that mean? Had humanity already made an enemy of these beings, even without a single shot being fired? The term sounded like something out of a nightmare, a force of destruction that swept across the galaxy, leaving nothing but chaos in its wake. Rewind the transmission. Play it again, Rachel ordered. I need to understand every word. As the message replayed, a crackling voice came through the speakers, heavily distorted by the encryption. It was a language unlike any Rachel had ever heard. The words were alien, sharp and melodic, with sounds that seemed to echo deep in her bones. The message was clear, though, even in its broken form. The Dark Fleet approaches. Prepare for extermination. Their ships are weapons of death. They come with only destruction in mind. Rachel's breath hitched. Extermination. The message wasn't just a warning. It was a statement of fear. These beings had seen humanity's warships, had seen the ARES Vanguard, and they thought it was a harbinger of doom. To them, humanity's technological advances, the thick armor plating, the powerful weapons, were a signal of aggression, a declaration of war. They think we're here to invade, Rachel muttered, more to herself than to anyone else. Commander Harrow looked at the data again, his face grim. Admiral, this message is being sent to multiple locations. It's not just one species that's been warned. This is something much bigger. They think we're part of a galactic invasion, one that's already started. The reality of the situation hit Rachel like a physical blow. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It wasn't a simple first contact gone wrong. This was the beginning of something much larger, something that could spiral out of control before they even had a chance to explain themselves. Send them our first contact package, Rachel ordered. All of it. The logs. The history of how we've built every ship, every weapon. Show them why we build the way we do, why we protect ourselves. It's not war we seek. It's survival. Harrow nodded and immediately began transmitting the data to the satellites. As the information began to stream out, a strange feeling settled over the crew. They were vulnerable in a way they had never been before. They had always known that space was dangerous, that the unknown could bring chaos, but this was something new. For the first time, they were not the aggressors. They were the ones being misunderstood, being feared for their very existence. Seconds ticked by like hours as the transmission was sent. Then, slowly, the alien ships began to emerge once again from the blackness, their forms materializing from the shadows of the satellite network. There were more of them this time, thousands, swirling like ghosts in the deep void. They're coming back, Maya said, her voice shaking slightly. But this time, it's different. They're not scattering. Rachel's grip tightened on the armrest of her chair. Her crew could feel it too. The tension, the rising panic. The galaxy's first encounter with humanity had begun, and it was clear. The stakes had just been raised. The shadow of misunderstanding. Admiral Rachel Simmons stood at the command console, watching the mass of alien ships materialize in the vast emptiness of space. The ARES Vanguard was surrounded, but not by an enemy fleet. No, this was something else. The ships were not charging in for battle. They were moving cautiously, almost as if they were waiting for something. The eerie silence on the bridge was deafening, and Rachel could feel the weight of her crew's eyes on her. Every breath was held as the alien vessels circled the ARES Vanguard, their sleek, liquid metal forms shimmering like mirages against the black void. "We're surrounded, Admiral," Commander Harrow said, his voice tight with tension. "They're not firing, but they're not backing off either. It's like they're assessing us." Rachel's mind raced. These ships were nothing like humanity's war machines. Their technology, elegant and precise, made the ARES Vanguard look like a blunt instrument in comparison. But in this moment, it wasn't their weapons that worried Rachel. It was the uncertainty. They had sent their warning message, and now These aliens were looking at humanity with eyes full of doubt and fear. "Let's not give them any reason to think we're a threat," Rachel said, her voice firm. "Activate all communication channels. We need to make them understand who we are. This isn't about war. It's about survival." Maya Collins, the ship's communications officer, nodded and worked quickly at her console, trying to open a line of communication with the alien fleet. The quiet hum of the ship's systems was all that could be heard as the tension in the room built, every second stretching longer than the last. The seconds felt like minutes, and then, finally, there was a flash of light on the view screen. A signal was incoming. The alien ships, which had been silent, now pulsed with a different kind of energy, almost as if they were responding. The soft purple glow from the ships intensified, and the words appeared on the screen, translated by the ship's advanced systems. "We have heard your message, Earthlings." The transmission began. The voice was strange, but carried a resonance that seemed to vibrate through the very air. It sounded almost melodic with an underlying tension. "But your presence here threatens us. We do not understand your kind, your machines. You call it survival. We see only destruction. The Dark Fleet comes." Rachel felt her throat tighten. The Dark Fleet, again. They were afraid, but it wasn't just of humanity's military might. It was a deeper, older fear, one that resonated through their very words. These beings were not just fearful of war. They feared the consequences of human presence in their galaxy. "We are not the Dark Fleet," Rachel responded immediately, her voice strong, commanding. "We are survivors. We come from a planet where survival has meant overcoming impossible odds. We are explorers, not invaders." For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, the alien transmission resumed, and the words that followed were even more chilling than the last. "Survival," the voice echoed, "is not an excuse for what you bring. Your ships are weapons, your technology is war. You come from a place where everything is built to destroy. Why else would you need such weapons? Why do you need armor thick enough to withstand the burning suns themselves? You fear the void of space. You fear the unknown. And for that, we fear you." Rachel felt the weight of their words sink in. To them, the HFY Vanguard was an unshakable symbol of human fear and mistrust. They saw a warship, not a vessel of peace. Humanity's history of conflict, of building powerful weapons, of fighting for survival. These things had painted them as aggressors in the eyes of the alien species. The ships, the technology, the very design of humanity's most powerful creations were all misunderstood. "We didn't come to bring war," Rachel replied, her voice steady, but filled with the weight of a truth she had to make them see. "We came to understand. We came to learn. Our technology is our strength, yes, but it is also a reflection of the lessons we've learned. Space is unforgiving. It is the greatest challenge we face, and we cannot afford to ignore it. We didn't build these ships to conquer, only to survive." The words were difficult, but Rachel knew they were necessary. She could see it in the eyes of her crew. This was no longer about just meeting an alien species. It was about survival in a galaxy full of uncertainties, and about making sure humanity's place in the universe wasn't misunderstood. The alien ships hovered in space, as if considering her words. Then something incredible happened. A single vessel, slightly larger than the others, began to move forward slowly, cautiously. It shimmered like liquid mercury, its surface reflecting the light of distant stars. It was beautiful, almost hypnotic in its design. "It's responding," Maya whispered, her fingers trembling as she worked the controls. "They're opening a communication channel." Rachel stood tall, her eyes never leaving the view screen as the alien ship moved closer. The tension in the air was palpable. This was the turning point. If the aliens chose to attack, there would be no stopping them. But if they chose to listen, this moment could change everything. The future of humanity could be determined in the next few seconds. The voice came again, but this time it was different. Softer, more measured. You speak of survival, but your survival comes with consequences. You fear space, but do you understand it? Can you truly survive in the unknown? You bring technology that is an affront to the very idea of exploration. Rachel's breath caught. What did they mean? The voice continued. You build to protect yourself, but you do not understand. It is not fear of the unknown that you must overcome. It is fear of each other. And for that, you are not alone in the galaxy. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Rachel stood motionless, her mind racing. The implications of the message were profound. The aliens weren't just afraid of humanity's technology. They were afraid of humanity itself. They had built walls of fear, not just against space, but against each other. And in their eyes, humanity's relentless will to survive was a reflection of something far darker. "Admiral," Harrow said, breaking the silence, "what do we do now?" Rachel closed her eyes for a moment, gathering her thoughts. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy. This was more than a first contact. It was a negotiation between two species with fundamentally different views of the universe. "We show them who we are," she said quietly. "We show them that we're more than just survivors. We are creators. We are explorers, and we will find a way to bridge the divide." As the ARES Vanguard hovered in space, surrounded by the unknown, Rachel knew one thing for certain. This encounter was just the beginning of something far greater. But humanity's journey into the stars had already started, and there was no turning back now. The silent dilemma. The bridge of the ARES Vanguard felt heavier than ever as Admiral Rachel Simmons stood before the main view screen, staring at the fleet of alien ships that loomed like a gathering storm. Despite their apparent hesitation, there was no mistaking the tension that hung thick in the air. The moment had arrived. Humanity had made its plea for peace, but the aliens remained silent, uncertain, afraid, and unwilling to trust. Now, the question was simple. Could this fragile moment of first contact survive the weight of misunderstanding? Rachel's eyes flicked to the tactical screen, where the positions of the alien vessels were tracked, each one moving in precise, calculated orbits around the ARES Vanguard. Their ships had not fired. Not yet, but every movement seemed to carry the unspoken threat of violence. They were studying humanity, she knew, testing the waters, watching for any sign of aggression. "How much longer do you think they'll wait?" Harrow asked from his post, his voice low, but laced with concern. Rachel didn't answer immediately. She didn't know. There were too many variables, too many unknowns. All she could do was follow the protocol they had practiced for years. Stay calm, show strength, but also extend a hand of diplomacy, no matter how difficult it was. In the silence, she could feel the weight of her crew's expectations. The eyes of 1,000 soldiers, engineers, scientists, and civilians were watching her. They were all waiting for her to act. She had no choice but to trust that their survival depended on the choices she made now. "Captain," incoming message from the lead vessel, Maya Collins said suddenly, her voice tense as she turned toward the comm station. Rachel nodded, stepping forward. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and once again, the shimmering form of the lead alien vessel appeared, its metallic skin rippling in the cold expanse of space. The alien face on the screen was beautiful in its own otherworldly way, angular, translucent skin that shifted with light. Their eyes were like multifaceted mirrors, reflecting the vastness of space and the intensity of their thoughts. The alien spoke in that same melodious language, though this time the words were different, stronger, more demanding. "You have spoken of survival, Earthlings, but survival is not enough. Your people have never faced what we face. You do not know what it means to truly survive. You will understand soon enough." Rachel's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't a message of peace. It was a challenge. "Explain what you mean," she replied, keeping her voice calm. Her crew leaned forward, holding their breath as they waited for the alien's response. "We have been watching your species for centuries," the alien's voice continued. "Your ships, your machines, your weapons, they are nothing more than the echoes of a race that has only just begun to understand what true survival means. But we are older than you. We have faced extinction time and time again, and we have learned that in the universe, only the strongest thrive. If you truly wish to understand survival, you must first prove your worth. Show us that you are not simply a species of destruction, but one capable of enduring the trials that await you in the darkness between stars." Rachel's mind raced. The alien species had clearly seen more than humanity could even fathom. They had experienced hardship beyond anything Rachel could imagine, something that had shaped their worldview into something hardened, unyielding. They didn't just... Rachel's voice was steady as she answered. "We're not here to prove anything. We're here to learn. We seek knowledge, not conquest. Our survival isn't based on strength alone. It's based on understanding, adaptability, and cooperation." The alien face flickered, its expression unreadable. Understanding and cooperation. These are words of weakness, Earthling. The universe does not care for your words. It cares for your actions. Rachel clenched her fists. This wasn't just about their technology or their ability to defend themselves. It was about their very philosophy of survival. The aliens were not merely looking for an alliance. They were looking for validation. They wanted to see if humanity could survive on their terms, on the terms of the universe itself. The screen went dark for a moment, and a quiet murmur swept through the bridge. Then, to Rachel's surprise, the alien's face reappeared. But this time, the tone had changed. It was less aggressive, more contemplative. "You speak of cooperation," the alien said slowly. "Perhaps there is more to your species than we first thought. You have a spirit, but you do not know what it means to truly survive in the vastness of the void. If you wish to earn our trust, you must prove it. Prove it in the trials we will set before you. Only then will you be worthy of the knowledge you seek. Only then will we consider you allies." Rachel's heart pounded in her chest. The message was clear. The aliens weren't going to just give humanity the answers they sought. No, they would have to earn them. And the only way to do that was by facing trials that would push humanity to its limits. "We accept your challenge," Rachel said firmly, locking eyes with the screen. Her voice echoed in the quiet of the bridge. "We will prove our worth." As the transmission cut off, the crew exchanged uncertain glances. The weight of what had just been said hung heavily in the air. Rachel felt it too. The gravity of the decision she had made. They weren't just dealing with a misunderstanding anymore. This was something deeper. The aliens had set a gauntlet before them. A trial that would test everything humanity had learned about survival. "You heard them," Rachel said, turning to her crew. "We're not just explorers anymore. We're challengers. We're going to show them that humanity is more than just a species of destruction. We'll prove that we are worthy of the stars." There was no turning back now. The trials were coming, and humanity would have to face them. But Rachel knew one thing for certain. The future of their species depended on how they responded. And if humanity could prove its resilience, if it could show the aliens that they were more than just survivors, then perhaps, just perhaps, they would find a place in this vast, uncharted galaxy. The first trial. Into the abyss. The stars were distant and cold as the ARES Vanguard drifted through the void, surrounded by the alien fleet. For the crew, the silence was unbearable. The trial was about to begin, and no one knew what to expect. The message from the alien leader had been clear. Humanity must prove its worth through survival in the most hostile environment known to any species, an environment so brutal that even the strongest might not return from it. Admiral Rachel Simmons stood on the command deck, her eyes scanning the holographic star charts that displayed their course. The trial had been set. The aliens had already begun to alter their trajectory, and the ARES Vanguard was being drawn into the center of a cosmic maelstrom, a region of space known only as the abyss. It was an area marked by swirling gravitational anomalies, asteroid fields, and energy storms powerful enough to tear a ship apart. No one had ever survived an expedition into the abyss, and now, humanity's survival would depend on whether they could endure it. Admiral, Lieutenant Juno Patel's voice cut through the tension. We're entering the abyss in less than 3 hours. All systems are functional, but we've never encountered anything like this before. It's almost as if the laws of physics are bending. Rachel nodded, her expression grim. She had read all the data, and while the ARES Vanguard was built for durability, this trial was unlike anything they had ever faced. The ARES Vanguard was a marvel of human engineering, but the abyss had a way of humbling even the greatest technologies. "I know, Lieutenant," Rachel replied, her voice steady. "But we will endure. We have no choice. Set the course. We move in, and we move out. We show them what humanity is made of." Patel hesitated, clearly unsettled, but nodded. The entire bridge crew could feel the weight of Rachel's words. This wasn't just a test of their ship or their technology. It was a test of their will. Humanity had fought wars, survived disasters, and defied the odds. But this was different. The abyss was not a war they could fight with weapons, nor a disaster they could simply outlast. It was a force of nature, a reminder of how small humanity was in the grand scheme of the cosmos. The ARES Vanguard powered up its engines, its massive fusion drives humming to life as it surged forward into the heart of the abyss. On the bridge, everyone braced themselves. There was no turning back now. As the ship began its descent into the unknown, the stars outside the viewport began to distort, their light bending around the gravitational anomalies, creating strange ripples in space-time. The crew exchanged nervous glances, but Rachel kept her gaze forward, unwavering. "This is it," Commander Harrow muttered, looking at the readouts on his console. "We're in." The first sign of danger came without warning. A violent shockwave rocked the ARES Vanguard, sending the crew stumbling. The inertial dampeners kicked in, but not fast enough. The ship groaned under the strain, its hull shuddering as it passed through the outer edge of the abyss. Red lights flickered, and alarms blared across the bridge. "Report," Rachel barked, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We're experiencing gravitational anomalies," Admiral Patel reported, her fingers flying over the controls. "The ship's being pulled in multiple directions, power surges across multiple systems. We're being destabilized." "Stabilize us," Rachel ordered, her gaze fixed on the swirling chaos outside. "We need to keep moving forward. We're not here to turn back." The crew worked frantically, adjusting the ship's trajectory, rerouting power to the stabilizers. But the abyss had no mercy. Every second, the ARES Vanguard was forced to fight against the relentless pull of the surrounding anomalies, its hull groaning under the pressure. The ship's sensors were overloaded, flashing warnings of massive energy discharges from nearby energy storms, each one a reminder of the dangers lurking in the darkness. For hours, they pushed forward, fighting against the odds, until the next wave hit. This time, it wasn't just a shockwave. It was a full-blown electromagnetic storm. The ship's shields flickered and failed, and the entire bridge was bathed in a harsh, unnatural light. Sparks flew from consoles, and the air was filled with the acrid scent of burning circuits. "Damn it," Harrow shouted as he struggled to maintain control. "We're losing power to the auxiliary systems. We're not going to make it if we can't stabilize those shields." Rachel's heart raced. Every calculation, every precaution, every step they had taken to prepare for this trial. Now all of it was being tested. The abyss wasn't just a challenge to their technology. It was a test of their ability to persevere when everything seemed to be falling apart. "We'll make it," Rachel said, her voice calm in the midst of chaos. "We have no other option. Reroute all available power to the shields. We push forward." The crew worked in tandem, channeling every available resource into keeping the ship intact. There was no room for error, no room for hesitation. The seconds felt like hours, the ship groaning under the relentless assault from the abyss. As they pressed on, the ship's viewports became filled with a kaleidoscope of cosmic chaos, swirling clouds of ionized gas, fragments of asteroid debris, and waves of energy that rippled through the fabric of space itself. It was a storm unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed, and yet the HFY Vanguard pressed on, defying the odds. Rachel couldn't help but think of the alien message. They had claimed that survival wasn't enough, that humanity's strength lay not in its ability to conquer, but in its ability to endure, to rise against the most impossible of odds. She had always known that humanity's greatest weapon was its resilience. But now, as the ship lurched violently and the crew fought desperately to keep it together, she realized how much more that strength would need to evolve. Hours later, they emerged from the worst of it. The storm subsided, the gravitational forces lessened. But the HFY Vanguard was battered. Its shields were down to minimal capacity. Its engines strained to the breaking point. The crew was exhausted, but their resolve had only hardened. "We made it," Paddle said quietly, her voice filled with awe as she watched the reading stabilize. "We're through." Rachel nodded, her gaze fixed on the stars ahead. "We're not finished yet, but we've proven something. We've survived." Just then, a message came through. The alien leader's face appeared on the screen, their expression unreadable. "You have passed the first trial," the alien voice said. "You are not like the others we have encountered. Your species possesses the will to endure. This is a lesson we must learn from you." Rachel felt a wave of relief, but it was short-lived. This was only the beginning. The trials would continue, and they would only get harder. The abyss had tested humanity's resilience, but it was only a glimpse of what lay ahead. "We've only just begun," Rachel said, turning to her crew. "But we've taken the first step, and I believe it's one that will lead us to the stars." The riddle of the stars. The calm after the storm was eerie. The HFY Vanguard hung motionless in the cold vacuum of space, drifting within the remnants of the abyss, the dangers still fresh in the minds of the crew. Though they had survived the first trial, the lingering questions weighed heavily on their shoulders. The alien message was clear. Humanity had shown resilience, but survival was not the end of the journey. It was merely a step, a riddle that needed solving. Admiral Rachel Simmons stood on the command deck, staring out into the star-filled expanse. The HFY Vanguard had survived the physical trials of the abyss, but the alien's words echoed in her mind. "Survival is not enough. You must prove your understanding of the universe itself." They were being tested on something far greater than strength, something deeper. "Admiral, we're receiving another transmission from the alien fleet." Lieutenant Juno Patel's voice broke through the silence, her tone unusually subdued. Rachel turned toward her, her eyes narrowing. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and once again, the shimmering figure of the lead alien vessel appeared, its alien face gleaming with an unsettling, silent intensity. The alien spoke, its voice calm, but the underlying tension was palpable. "We have watched you, Earthlings. You have endured the first trial, but you have yet to understand its true nature. The abyss is not a challenge of survival alone. It is a riddle, a puzzle that spans across the stars. You must answer it, or you will not be allowed to continue. This is your second trial." Rachel's breath caught in her throat. A riddle. She had known the trial would push them, but she hadn't anticipated this. What kind of riddle could span the vastness of space? And why was humanity being tested in such an abstract way? "We are ready for your challenge," Rachel said firmly, though uncertainty gnawed at her insides. "What is the riddle?" The alien's eyes glinted with an inscrutable depth as it replied, its voice rich with the weight of untold centuries. "The riddle is this: what is the true nature of the universe?" Rachel blinked, momentarily stunned. "That's it. A question." "It seems," she began, but the alien interrupted her. This question has been asked by many, yet few have understood. You will answer, Earthling, or you will remain in the dark, locked out of the knowledge of the stars. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. The riddle itself wasn't complex, but its implications were far-reaching. What did the alien mean? Was the answer to be found in the stars themselves? Did humanity's survival depend on solving something so profound, so unknowable? Rachel turned to her crew, who were now watching her with a mix of confusion and curiosity. She could feel their unease, their unspoken question. What do we do now? We need to think, she said after a long pause, her voice calm but edged with urgency. The question is about the universe. But what does that really mean? What's the true nature of it? Does it mean the forces at play? Gravity, energy, the laws of physics, or is it something more? Commander Harrow, who had been studying the alien message, spoke up. Perhaps it's not about the universe itself, but about how we see it. The abyss wasn't just a test of our strength, it was a test of our perception. We survived by adapting, by understanding what we were dealing with. Maybe the aliens want us to show we can understand the cosmos in the same way. Rachel nodded, her mind racing. That's a good start, Commander. We need to show them that humanity isn't just a species of warriors or survivors. We are explorers. We seek knowledge. And maybe the answer to the riddle lies in the very fabric of space, the way we understand the forces around us. But how? The question felt like it was slipping through her fingers, just out of reach. What could they say to the aliens that would prove their understanding of the universe, their place in it? Admiral, Patel's voice interrupted her thoughts. I think I have something. Take a look at this. She turned the display toward Rachel. The image was a schematic of the abyss, detailing the gravitational anomalies they had passed through. But now, something new appeared. Hidden patterns, invisible forces. As Patel zoomed in, Rachel saw the ripples in space-time, like waves across a pond, though far more intricate, far more subtle. Is this, Rachel asked, leaning forward, some sort of energy field? No, Patel said. It's a pattern. These anomalies aren't random. They're part of a greater whole. If we align these with the movements of celestial bodies in this region, they seem to form a repeating pattern. It's almost like the universe is speaking to us. The revelation hit Rachel like a bolt of lightning. The answer to the riddle was in front of them, hidden in the very stars they had once thought of as chaotic, unpredictable. The universe wasn't an enemy to be conquered. It wasn't a force to be feared. It was a puzzle, a grand design made of interwoven patterns, rhythms, and harmonies. Humanity wasn't just a participant in the universe. They were part of it. The stars themselves were not random. They were the very language of the cosmos. We've been looking at it wrong, Rachel said, her voice trembling with the realization. The true nature of the universe isn't chaos. It's order. It's patterns that we haven't yet understood. The abyss, the anomalies, the energy storms, they're all part of something larger. The universe is a living, breathing system of interconnections, and we are a part of it. The crew was silent for a long moment. Then Harrow spoke up again, his voice tinged with awe. You're saying that the universe isn't just a backdrop to our existence. It's a code we need to crack, a cosmic riddle. Rachel nodded. Exactly. And humanity has always been about solving problems, discovering patterns, finding connections where others see none. We've done it on Earth. Now we have to do it in the stars. Her voice grew steadier as she looked at the faces of her crew. We need to show the aliens that we understand this. We need to prove that humanity can think beyond survival, that we can see the universe not as a series of random events, but as a vast, interconnected system. We can learn from it, adapt to it, and ultimately thrive within it. The crew exchanged glances, their confidence rising as they grasped the enormity of what Rachel was proposing. It wasn't just about surviving the trials. It was about demonstrating the very essence of humanity. curiosity, the drive to understand, to connect, to make sense of the universe. We'll start with the anomalies, Paddle said, already typing commands into her console. I'll begin recalibrating the ship's sensors to track the deeper patterns in the abyss. We might not have all the answers yet, but I believe we can find them, together. Rachel's heart swelled with pride. The ARES Vanguard was no longer just a ship. It was humanity's hope, its beacon to the stars. The trial wasn't over, but now, for the first time, Rachel believed they had a chance to pass it. We'll find the answer, she said. And when we do, we'll show the galaxy that humanity doesn't just survive. We understand.